What do you mean we're short-staffed again? It's a Saturday. Jared Stevens rubbed his forehead, staring at the weekly report on his office screen. He'd built the buffet chain from scratch 15 years ago, one location, rented kitchen, him behind the fryer. Now there were 19 restaurants. But lately, the complaints had started piling up. Cold food, dirty stations, rude staff. One review even mentioned a kid slipping on spilled mashed potatoes no one cleaned up for 20 minutes. Jared didn't do well with secondhand stories. He minimized the report, stood up, and walked toward the large mirror in his office. He studied his reflection. Blue eyes, broad jaw, graying beard. Too recognizable. He picked up the brown contacts, trimmed wig, and fake tattoos he'd ordered last week. No one outside corporate had seen him in person in years. With the disguise, he wouldn't even recognize himself. He pulled on the faded jeans and a black polo with a fake name tag, Kyle. The story was simple. He was a new trainee sent by corporate to shadow staff and learn the ropes. The district manager had already signed off on it, thinking it was an internal training audit. Jared didn't mention it went higher than that. He chose the 11th location, one of the busiest buffets in the chain. No formal complaints had come from there, but that was exactly what worried him. Something always slips through the cracks when no one's looking. He walked in through the employee entrance at 10 a.m. sharp. Inside the break room, a woman in her early 20s leaned against the vending machine, sipping from a giant iced coffee. She had a notepad tucked into her apron and a sharp stare like she didn't miss much. "You the new guy?" she asked, eyebrow raised. "Yeah, Kyle. First day," Jared said, keeping his voice a little lower than usual. "Prisha," she said, sticking out her hand. "I'm on register today, but I help with training sometimes. You'll be shadowing me until lunch rush, then probably get tossed on cleanup." He nodded. "Sounds good." She looked him over. "You from corporate?" He froze. Did she suspect something? Just a skin. You don't have that dead in the eyes look most new hires have. He laughed. "Nah, just nervous." She didn't press, just handed him gloves and led him to the front. The buffet was already half full. An elderly couple asked where the meatloaf was. A dad with 3 kids begged for refills. Jared took it all in sticky floors, trays half empty by noon, staff moving like they were wading through molasses. "I know it looks messy," Prisha muttered, "but we're down 2 people. One called out sick. One quit mid-shift last week." "What happened?" Manager made her cry. Real piece of work. The manager in question showed up 10 minutes later. "Move faster, people," barked a tall man in his 30s with slicked back hair and a clipboard. "We're not running a damn daycare here." He stopped when he saw Jared. "You the new guy?" "Yeah, Kyle. Stick to wiping down buffet counters and restocking. Got it? No talking to guests unless spoken to." Prisha whispered. "That's Dylan. He thinks yelling is a leadership style." Jared got to work. He wiped down trays, replaced serving spoons, and quietly observed. By noon, the line was out the door. Staff scrambled. The soft-serve machine broke down. Jared jumped in, helping bussers clear tables. Near the hot bar, a woman politely asked Dylan if the mac and cheese would be refilled soon. He didn't even look up. "It'll be out when it's out." She frowned. "I was just asking." He turned to another employee. "You ever just want to spit in someone's food when they act like that?" Jared stopped. Did he just hear that? The other staff member laughed nervously, but no one else did. Prisha caught Jared's eye. Her mouth was tight. Jared walked over to the woman. "Ma'am, I'll go check on that mac and cheese for you right now," he said. Her face softened. "Thank you. That's all I needed." As he headed to the back, Dylan called out, "Hey, you don't take orders from them. You're here to clean, not kiss guests' asses." Jared turned. I was just trying to help. Dylan stepped closer. You don't help unless I say so. You want to stay on this payroll, you listen to me. Not them. Jared clamped his jaw shut. Not yet. The rest of the day blurred in sweat and frustration. One of the dishwashers, a quiet guy named Leo, hadn't taken a break in 6 hours. Jared brought him water and a protein bar from the break room. Thanks, Leo said softly, eyes dropping. They usually forget I exist back here. When the crowd thinned around 4, Jared helped Prisha refill the dessert bar. She leaned in. You heard what he said earlier, right? About spitting in food. Yeah. I've worked here 3 years. He says crap like that all the time. I don't think he's ever actually done it, but it's not a joke. Jared nodded slowly. He hadn't planned to step in this soon. But if a staff member thought that kind of talk was normal, they were deep in the wrong culture. He looked across the dining room. Dylan was on his phone, sitting at a booth. Jared felt heat rise in his chest. Not yet, but soon. By early evening, the dining room had thinned out, but the damage had already been done. Tables were left unbussed for too long. The carving station had run dry twice, and a toddler had tripped near the soda machine where no one had bothered to mop up a spill. Jared had discreetly grabbed a mop himself while Dylan scrolled on his phone near the cash register. In the cramped back hallway near dry storage, Jared leaned against the wall, catching his breath. He wasn't winded from the work, he was used to hard labor. What drained him was watching the slow erosion of standards he'd once fought to raise. The chain had been built on dignity, both for staff and guests. Somewhere along the line that had gotten lost. Footsteps approached. Leo came around the corner, carrying a stack of soaking wet rag towels. His shirt clung to his back. They're out of gloves again, he muttered, not looking up. Been like that all week. Jared glanced down at Leo's hands, red and raw from scrubbing without protection. You told someone? Dylan said to just rinse faster. Said wasting time on gloves was for soft people. Jared's jaw clenched. That's not acceptable. Leo shook his head. It's whatever. No, it isn't. Jared looked him in the eye. You shouldn't be working like that. It's not safe. Leo gave a half shrug and walked off toward the dish pit. Jared followed him, watching how he navigated the slick floor, moving around crates stacked where they shouldn't be. The space hadn't been cleaned under the machine in days, maybe longer. The smell confirmed it. At the end of the night, staff trickled into the break room, exhausted. Most didn't talk. A few scrolled silently on their phones. Dylan eventually strolled in, still fresh-faced, tapping away at his screen. Same schedule tomorrow, he called out. If you're not here 10 minutes early, don't bother showing up. Nobody responded. Jared sat near the vending machine, pretending to jot notes on a clipboard. Dylan looked over at him. You, new guy, how's your first day? Jared didn't respond right away. Saw a lot. Dylan snorted. Yeah, it's a circus. But we keep it running. I noticed Leo's hands were torn up, Jared said evenly. No gloves in stock. Not my fault. Supply truck's late. Still, you can't have him washing dishes barehanded. Dylan narrowed his eyes. You a trainer or a health inspector? I'm here to learn the operation. That includes safety. Then learn to stay in your lane. Dylan stood up from the bench. You last longer that way. Jared didn't flinch. That a threat? Dylan laughed, but there was no humor in it. Just advice. Later that night, Jared sat in his car outside the restaurant. He didn't start the engine. He just stared through the windshield at the glowing buffet sign. He'd seen bad management before, but this wasn't just laziness or burnout. This was rot. The next morning, Jared arrived before dawn. Same disguise, same faded uniform. The kitchen lights were already on. Inside, Prisha was prepping the salad bar alone. "You're early," she said without turning. "Wanted to see how things start." She motioned toward the prep sink. "Cut fruits in crates. If you're brave enough to open that top one, I'll owe you a coffee." Jared flipped the lid. The smell hit immediately, sour and sharp. Mold had bloomed across the pineapple chunks. He closed it fast. "Delivery came 4 days ago," she said. "No one rotated anything. Dylan told me to just scrape the top layer off yesterday." "You didn't, right?" "Of course not. I tossed it. But that's money out of my drawer, technically. So he wrote me up." Jared stared at her. "He penalized you for not serving spoiled food?" She nodded, wiping her hands on her apron. "I've got 2 more write-ups. One for attitude, one for unauthorized break, which was just me sitting for 5 minutes after a double shift. That's why people keep quitting, isn't it?" She checked the cooler temp. "Some leave. Some just stop caring." At 8, guests trickled in. A woman walked in with her son, maybe 7 years old. Jared opened the door for them and gave the kid a small wave. The boy beamed. An hour later, Jared found them at a corner booth. The boy's plate sat untouched. His mother looked anxious. "Everything okay?" Jared asked. "He's allergic to peanuts." "I asked the cashier if anything had cross-contact. She said she didn't know and walked off." Jared's stomach dropped. "Did you eat anything yet?" "No. I don't want to risk it. I'll check the labels myself. I'll be right back." In the back, Jared found Dylan near the fryer, sipping an energy drink. "Did anyone clean the tongs after yesterday's peanut sauce was used?" Dylan raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "There's a child with an allergy. His mom asked about cross-contact. Tell her to eat somewhere else if she's that worried." Jared stepped closer. "We're legally required to disclose allergens." Dylan rolled his eyes. "We're not a hospital. It's a buffet. You say something like that again, and you won't be managing anything." Dylan's face flushed. "You threatening me, Kyle?" Jared locked eyes with him. "No. I'm warning you." He turned and walked directly to the storage manager, an older man named Curtis who'd been quietly watching everything. Jared identified the sauces, took photos of the ingredient lists, and brought them to the guest. "Mac and cheese, green beans, and cornbread are safe. Avoid the orange chicken and anything near the Thai noodles." She smiled in relief. "Thank you. Most people just ignore us." Jared nodded. "That's not okay. You deserve better." Later that afternoon, a staff meeting was called, unplanned. Dylan stood next to the whiteboard in the storage room, arms crossed. "Corporate called. Said someone's coming tomorrow for a surprise audit." A few staff exchanged glances. Until then, no one touches their phones. No one talks to guests more than necessary. And if I hear anyone complaining, that's your last shift. Prisha raised a hand. "Are we allowed to ask who's coming?" "No. You're allowed to do your jobs." When the meeting ended, Jared stayed behind, wiping down the counter near the prep station. Curtis approached quietly. "Never seen you before," he said, voice low. "New hire, supposedly." Curtis studied him. "You're not just here to learn how to scoop mashed potatoes." Jared didn't answer. Curtis nodded slowly. "About damn time." That night, Jared sat in his hotel room, staring at a folder of photos and notes. He'd seen enough. Unsafe food handling. Retaliation for doing the right thing. Ignoring medical concerns. 3 write-ups for a worker trying to protect guests. He picked up his phone and called the district HR director. "Tomorrow morning," he said. "Clear your calendar. I'm pulling rank." By sunrise, Jared was already in the parking lot. He wore the same uniform as the day before, but this time he wasn't alone. A black sedan pulled up quietly behind him. From it stepped Dana Holloway, the district HR director, dressed in neutral tones and holding a leather folder. She'd worked with Jared for nearly a decade. She didn't ask questions. She just followed him through the employee entrance with the kind of silent focus that meant she already knew this wasn't a routine visit. Inside, the kitchen buzzed with pre-opening tension. Staff moved quickly but without direction. Someone had propped open the back door, and a box of thawing chicken sat unattended near the mop sink. Jared didn't say a word. Dana took a photo. They walked through the prep line, past the dish pit. Leo was already on the clock, hands bandaged. When he saw Jared, his shoulders tensed, ready for another long day. Jared gave him a nod, then continued into the break room. He pulled off the wig, contacts, and the fake name badge. Prisha walked in mid-transition, holding a clipboard and chewing on a pen cap. She paused mid-step. Her eyes darted from the wig in Jared's hand to Dana's ID badge. "You're not Kyle." "No," Jared said simply. "I'm Jared Stevens. I own this company." She stared at him, frozen. Then slowly, she set the clipboard down on the bench and sat. "I knew something was weird. You actually cared." Dana stepped forward. "We're conducting a formal employment review. I need to speak to you privately in about 20 minutes. Prisha blinked, then gave a slow nod. "Okay." Jared walked out without waiting for more questions. He found Dylan near the front register, talking loudly to one of the newer hosts. His tone was sharp, his posture aggressive. Jared didn't wait. "Dylan." The manager turned, clearly annoyed. "What now?" He stopped when he saw Jared without the disguise. His eyes flicked to Dana, who stood behind him with a clipboard. "What the hell is this?" "You're done," Jared said flatly. "You're off the floor as of this moment. Hand over your keys. You can't just, I can. And I am. You've created a hostile and unsafe work environment. You've retaliated against staff for following safety protocol. You've made inappropriate jokes in front of customers and neglected allergen warnings. This isn't a discussion." Dylan looked around, as if someone might step in. No one moved. Even the host he'd been towering over a moment ago took 2 steps back. "I've been here longer than half these people," Dylan said. "You think they can run this place without me?" Jared didn't raise his voice. "They've been running it despite you." Dana extended her hand. "Keys." Dylan yanked the lanyard from his belt and dropped it into her palm. "You'll regret this." Jared stepped aside, letting him pass. Dylan stormed out, muttering under his breath. No one followed. Jared turned to the staff nearby. "We're staying open today, but under new leadership. Anyone who wants to speak with HR? Dana's available all morning off the clock. No pressure. If you're scheduled, we'll make sure you're supported. If you're not, come in anyway. We'll pay double time while we clean this up." No one cheered. They just stood there, stunned. That was enough. By mid-morning, Jared was in the back office reviewing schedules with Curtis. The older man laid out the staffing gaps with quiet precision. "I can cover prep. Leo can't go another shift alone in dish. We need a second line runner or we'll bottleneck." Jared nodded. "What about cross-training?" "We tried." Dylan blocked it, said it was wasted payroll. "Not anymore." Jared circled the prep window. "We're doing it right this time." At the register, Prisha had taken over floor coordination, assigning roles with calm authority. She approached Jared during a lull, holding a worn envelope. "I never showed you this," she said. "It's my write-up file. I kept copies. Most of them are bogus." Jared opened it. Inside were 3 forms, each signed by Dylan, each citing vague infractions like non-compliance and poor tone. None included witness statements or timestamps. "We'll strike all of these," Jared said, "and I'll make sure your file is cleared at corporate." She hesitated. You really mean that? I do. And I want you to help us train new hires going forward. Her eyes widened. You're serious? I watched you carry this place for 2 days. You didn't complain. You held the line. That's leadership. She swallowed hard and nodded once. All right. In the back. Leo leaned against the dish rack, arms folded. Jared walked over. You doing okay? Leo shrugged. Better than yesterday. I should have stepped in sooner. Leo looked at him. You were the only one who even noticed. I noticed more than you think. I saw you push through without breaks. I saw you take verbal hits without pushing back. That's not strength. That's survival. Leo didn't answer. We're hiring a second dishwasher. Until then, you'll get a paid break every 3 hours and hazard pay until staffing is stable. Leo looked at him like he didn't quite believe him. You're serious? Dead serious. For the first time since Jared met him, Leo cracked a faint smile. By afternoon, the energy on the floor had shifted. It wasn't cheerful not yet, but it was focused. Staff moved with clarity. Jared pulled on gloves and helped clear tables during peak lunch, working side by side with the bussers. He didn't announce who he was. He just worked. Guests noticed. One man approached the salad bar and said to Prisha, "Feels different in here today. Staff actually looks awake." She nodded. We're trying something new, honesty. At the soda station, a young employee named Ellie spilled a cup of ice. She bent to clean it immediately, but Jared stopped her. Where's your mop bucket? Storage closet. Dylan used to keep it locked. We'll fix that. By evening, Dana had completed 10 interviews. She handed Jared a typed summary. No one defends him. Not one. I've never seen that. He scanned the list. Multiple reports of verbal abuse, ignoring safety standards, and manipulating schedules to punish perceived disloyalty. The culture here is reparable, she said. But it'll take time. Then we give it time, Jared replied. That night, he gathered the staff in the dining room after close. No speeches, just facts. You deserved better. You didn't get it. That changes now. He handed out envelopes bonuses for those who stayed during the worst of it. Small but meaningful. A start. No clapping. Just a few quiet thank yous, and one long silence before Prisha finally said, So, what happens next? Jared looked around the room. Tomorrow we rebuild. Together. The next morning opened quieter than usual. Inside the buffet, the air was still heavy, but it wasn't the same kind of weight. It wasn't dread. It was anticipation. Jared had arrived before the lights came on, dressed in a simple button-down and jeans, no disguise, no fanfare. He wanted the staff to see him for who he was now, not just who he had been when he first walked in pretending to be Kyle. Curtis met him in the prep kitchen, already halfway through slicing onions. I didn't think you'd come back again today, Curtis said. I didn't come this far to vanish when the hard part starts. Curtis nodded, wiping his hands on a towel. The staff's waiting on what this all really means. They're getting answers, and so are the guests. By mid-morning, Jared had posted a temporary sign at the entrance. We're making changes to serve you better. Thank you for your patience. It wasn't flashy, but it was honest. At the front counter, Prisha was reviewing the shift chart. She'd stayed 2 hours late the night before, quietly taking notes on what roles needed the most immediate backup. She didn't announce her efforts. She didn't wait to be told what to do. Jared saw that. He walked over, motioned for her to step aside. District leadership approved the override. Your write-ups have been removed. She exhaled through her nose. Thank you. That's not all. We're opening an internal mentorship track. I want you on it. Her brow furrowed. What does that mean exactly? You'll train and develop new hires across 3 locations. Paid travel between sites, time off covered, plus a raise. She looked at him like he'd offered her something she wasn't sure she deserved. You've been running this place without the title. I'm just catching up. Curtis stepped over. That mentorship idea's smart. Staff need to see growth here, not just punishment. I agree, Jared said. As the lunch crowd picked up, Jared stayed out of the way, observing. The crew was running lean, still short 2 positions, but with clear roles and visible accountability. The difference was immediate. Guests were greeted at the door. Tables were cleared within minutes. Food stations were checked on time. But it wasn't all smooth. At the pasta bar, a guest asked Ellie, the youngest team member, whether any of the sauces had dairy. I think the red one might, she said hesitantly. Jared stepped in from a nearby table. Let's get the chart. We don't guess anymore. He walked her to the prep binder behind the counter, showed her where allergen details were now labeled in bold. How come no one taught us that before? She asked. Because the person who should have cared didn't. She looked down. You're not going anywhere, right? Not until this place earns your trust. In the back, Leo was working through dishes again, this time with a new part-timer named Tomas beside him. Jared had pulled Tomas from a nearby location that had overstaffed prep. It wasn't a perfect fix, but it kept Leo from drowning. Jared stepped into the dish area, careful not to get in the way. How's the pacing today? He asked. Leo didn't stop moving. Better. Still tight. Tomas holding up? He's green, but he listens. Jared pointed to the posted checklist on the wall. New system. Breaks every 4 hours minimum. If someone skips theirs, we rotate coverage or cut seating. We don't compromise health. Leo gave a short nod. That'll help. At 2, Jared called a brief staff huddle in the break room. Not a meeting. Just 10 minutes. He stood in front of the whiteboard. I've been in your shoes. I started on the line too. I know what it's like to feel invisible when you're the only one doing the work. That's not going to be the culture here anymore. He paused, scanning the room. No one looked away. We're raising pay across this location by $1 per hour starting next week. More importantly, we're adding a feedback channel that goes straight to me. Anonymous if you want. Every month, I'll read through every comment. Ellie raised her hand. What if someone retaliates if we say something? They won't, Jared said. Because they won't work here anymore. He turned to a poster on the wall, one he'd silently disliked for years. It read, "Smiles are free, so use them." He peeled it down. We're not asking anyone to pretend. We're asking for fairness, respect, clean stations, honest answers. That's how we earn loyalty from guests and each other. When the shift ended, the room didn't empty out immediately like it had in the days before. People lingered. Prisha stayed near the door, checking her phone. You all right? Jared asked. I got a message from someone who quit last month. Said they heard about what happened. Asked if we're hiring again. Are we? She grinned. If we're smart. Around 5, Jared sat alone in a corner booth, watching as Curtis trained a new server on refill timing. The pace was still stretched, but people were moving with purpose. He saw fewer tired eyes. No one avoided him. Dana called from corporate. They reviewed the footage. The joke Dylan made? It wasn't the first time. Jared didn't flinch. He's done. No appeal. Understood. I'll handle the paperwork. He ended the call and looked down at the table. A small boy walked past with his mother, the same pair from 2 days earlier. The boy looked up and waved. Jared waved back. The mother paused. Thank you again. This place feels different. Jared nodded. It is. That night, before leaving, he walked the floor one last time. He didn't say much. Just picked up a tray someone left behind, handed it to a busser, and kept moving. In the kitchen, he saw the mop closet had been reorganized, gloves restocked on the hook. He stepped into the walk-in cooler. Everything was labeled, rotated, sealed. Outside, the sign still hung. "We're making changes to serve you better." He left it up, not as a promise, as proof.